3, 2. Mitchell Squared podcast.
This is 26, isn't it?
This is episode 26, I think, 25.
We just did 25.
We did. Well, we have Mike Kelloway here right now.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good, Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing well. We're in the middle of a federal campaign, knocking on doors. Got my red shoes.
You do?
Got my red shirt.
Notice that you're very on brand.
Yeah. Like I am like literally a walking advertisement for myself, it's the height of narcissism.
That's interesting. I was actually thinking about this yesterday and it really puts into perspective how big your riding actually is that you're running in. Just all the way up to Antigonish, I think, right?
No, it's someone said this. So someone took the time to do this, but they said our riding, geographically speaking, is the size of the country of Lebanon. So we do, best way to describe our riding is that it's on the east coast, Glace Bay up to Port Hawkesbury, Louisbourg, Port Morion, and then you go up the the west side of the riding, which is Port Hood, Mabou, Inverness, Judique, and then we go across the causeway, and probably 90% of Guysborough County is me, and then I go up to Antigonish County, up to Pomquet, which is probably about 15 minutes outside the town of Antigonish. So it's a huge riding.
Mm-hmm.
And right from day one, in the last campaign, what I said was I wanted to be a different politician. I wanted to take the office to the people. So every day, or every week rather, one day a week, we take the office and we set up shop in a community. So we've been to Judique and Heatherton and Mabou and Canso and just, St. Peter's, because I wanted to do politics differently because of the largeness of the riding geographically speaking. Because a lot of people, if you live in Canso, you're about 2.5 hours away from my office in Dominion. And that's, to me, that is a barrier. So I wanted to break down those barriers and have what we called a mobile office. And I have a youth council that is so great, that provides me advice, insight, and does community work. And what we're going to do is we're going to set up a seniors council now because of the success of the youth council. So for me, it's serving everybody, serving people that didn't vote for me, serving people that can't vote yet, because that's why we're in it, is to, not just for now, but for tomorrow and today. So it is a huge riding, but I love it. I love getting out. This, to me, is the jam of going out and door-to-door knocking, talking to people, hearing what their needs are, hearing what the opportunities are, hearing what the challenges are. And for me, that's what it's all about. I'm from here. I was born in Glace Bay. I live in Sydney River. I've worked the entire riding before becoming an MP because my role in the community college, Nova Scotia Community College, was community innovation lead. So I working with communities throughout the riding. And so I got to know these communities before I became MP. So I'm so invested in this community because I'm from here. I love it here. My mom and dad raised me to never forget where you came from and always give back. And for me, I've gotten so much. Look, I'm 50 years of age. I'll be 51 next week. This community has given me everything. My parents gave me everything. And I subscribe to the definition of leadership that leadership is serving the interests of others and serving the needs of others. And to me, that I take that seriously. So, if you come to our campaign headquarters, it's like literally, a variety of people that support me. Yeah, I have liberals, way to go, but I have young people who've never voted before. I have people that are progressive conservatives, NDP, people that they may be voting for the first time. And the reason why is that I believe everything does start with the community. And I'm, this riding's voice in Ottawa. And I think a lot of times people in Ottawa get caught up in Ottawa. And that's not why we're here. We're here to serve the people of the area. So one day I was in a committee, and this was about 4 weeks. I was in a committee working group in Ottawa, and I'm only there 4 weeks, right? So this guy comes up and he said, we got a nickname for you. I said, ooh, that's record time already? Well, and you're kind of tentative going, okay, this should be Rich. And he said, we call you Bulldog. And I said, okay, do unpack that one. And they just said, early on, we see that you just don't let go. You fight for your community. And for me, there's no greater honor to be in Ottawa, in Canada's House, working for this people of this riding. And that's why I want another term. I want another term not because I want to be someone. It's because I want to do things.
Yeah.
And that's been my motto from day one. And over the last 2 years, boy, I mean, we've got hit with a existential crisis no one saw coming. And my office and myself, we've worked around the clock trying to help individuals, businesses. In many cases, we succeeded. In some cases, we failed. And I take those failures seriously when you can't help someone because you've exhausted all possibilities. But I got to tell you, I mean, everything starts with my parents, mom and dad. I mean, mom was a Ford from Lower Maine, one of 13 kids. They were poor. There's no other way to describe it. But they weren't poor of spirit or work ethic or determination. And my dad, his dad died in 20 mine in 1965. He was an overman. And then dad went into coal mining and became in charge of mine rescue. And my father would take me around to all, the mines, and when they were practicing for the mine rescue competitions. It's right there where I learned about resilience, teamwork, courage, humor, everything that I do today. Again, it comes back to the fact that I'm invested here. I want to see great things happen here. I want us to continue to do more for seniors. I want a brand new youth center in Glace Bay, which we're working on with Undercurrent Youth Center, New Dawn, looking at affordable housing projects with New Dawn and Cape Breton University. I've been around long enough that I've established relationships with people and organizations. This place means a lot. It means a lot to you guys.
Yeah.
Like, there's a pride factor here. We know there's challenges here.
I like that you were saying you have a youth council
Yeah.
to kind of gather the opinions of the youth in the area and see what kind of they're looking for, and you're just going to start a seniors council as well.
Absolutely.
I feel like it's so easy for somebody to be in your position and not actually be that invested to really touch everybody and see what are the needs from the bottom to the top. And
thanks, Ben, because I live that. I mean, that's not an act for me. It's not a political kind of theater.
Well, you can't pretend that.
No, you can't. And people know.
Mm-hmm.
People know authenticity. Like, if
I feel like you're very authentic.
Yeah.
That's a big strength that you have.
Yep.
Conveys it very well.
Oh, thanks, man. My mother calls when people are not authentic. She's hilarious. She's 81 years of age. She calls putting on the dog. Basically,
explain that.
Putting on the dog. I have no idea where the hell that came from.
Putting on the dog.
Putting on the dog.
Well, you're a
meaning,
bulldog.
Well,
so...
I mean, but for her, it was putting on the dog was, oh, you're pretending to be something you're not. Now, I don't know what the origin of that is, nor will I ever ask.
Yeah.
But I just go with it. Best to stay away.
Yeah.
Best to stay away.
So when you're talking about setting up the mobile offices, right?
Yeah.
That's the term you guys use.
Correct.
So you do that once a week, and you did that during the whole duration.
Yeah.
Since you were
the only times we didn't do it when COVID, was happening.
Mm-hmm.
But once we got the go-ahead from Dr. Strang, we did it. So, we did it in the winter of 2020, right up until March, and then we went back at it in September to December, and then we started doing some this summer. So people responded so well to it because people said, well, you fulfilled a promise. But more than that, you're coming to us, because I think politicians shouldn't be behind a desk, because you're a servant of the people. You need to go where people are.
Well, those people that you're 2.5 hours away from, you know what I mean? It's so easy to not, I don't really need to
And
deal with that.
it's
You're
interesting too,
going
because
to
a
them.
lot of the people that federally are in your position as well, some of them don't have ridings as
No, like if you're in downtown
expanders.
Toronto, you probably can go from 1 kilometer to 1 kilometer and be done, because it's so concentrated in populations. So in rural areas, like I'm probably in the top 20 geographic size ridings, but then you've got like Charlie Angus, and I think Charlie has half of Northern Ontario, which is, geographically speaking, colossal, right? It's huge. But our job is to get to people, not for people to get to us.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm a grassroots community activist person. I want to mix it up. And what I mean by that is I want to meet with the Hub Club and talk about what their needs are. I don't want to just say, here's a website, go to that, good luck. Like, I want to be a part of the solution, or if there's a problem, I want to be a part of the solution that tries to fix part of the problem, right?
Yeah.
So that's what it's all about. I mean, and, our riding has a history of great people that have done great things with, little fanfare. And, it dates back to people like Father Moses Cody, and I'm getting old now. I'm going into my senior's voice here, but in terms of, a lot of people would understand Father Moses Cody, Father Jimmy Tompkins. These were people that gave back to their community and started an Antigonish movement, which was basically the cooperative movement. And you can see the fingerprints in reserve mines and in Canso and in Glace Bay and in Dominion that, people came together to help each other to live. And that's what we need to do more often here. You see it with great groups across this riding. I mean, you've got Kingston Memorial Group. Now, not too many people know, but in Lordways, which is you take a road off of the 104 next to St. Peter's, there's a community there that is doing amazing work to attract daughters to the Kingston Memorial Clinic. That's a community group. Bay It Forward, the Glace Bay Revitalization Group, Future Ready, these groups in Glace Bay are monumental in terms of building a sense of pride. If you have a sense of pride, you'll no doubt have a sense of a work ethic, and you want to do better for your community. The only way we get out of economic strife or social strife is if we all come together on common principles. Common principles such as, the ability to live and have a livable wage, the ability to have safety, the ability to start a business if you like, the ability to congregate in a community hub. These are really important things, right? And we see it in Canso, we see it in Pomquet. There's a community, a French community in Pomquet. It's called Pomquet. The federal government funded $2.5 million when it went towards a community center in Pomquet. There are 600 people in Pomquet. Over the last 8 years, this is 600 people. They raised $800,000.
Wow.
They had determination, focus, and they did that.
That's like the definition of community.
Definition of community, right? I look at what's being done in East Bay with the East Bay Legion and what they do for community. I think of the various numerous seniors groups, like the Reserve Mines Pensioners Association. During COVID, what were they doing? They were providing meals for seniors.
Yeah, my grandparents were going there. It was weekly, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It was weekly.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. That's leadership. That's not going on Facebook and pontificating and being angry at the world. It is saying, I want to do something. I want to help people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we need more of. We have a lot of that in our area, and we need to build on it. And I think that's the fight I have. When I see these people working, collaborating, fighting in a good way, fighting for what's right, that fuels my engine. That's what it's all about for me.
Yeah. And back when you were your campaign in 2019, I did some door knocking with you back then, and it was,
I remember well, and
yeah.
it was a
remember
great
a
time.
rainy day that we had on Reserve Street.
I remember the rainy day
Yeah.
quite fond.
I remember rainy days and sunny days.
Exactly, which could be the next song for you. I remember
Yes,
rainy days
featuring
and
you,
sunny
yeah.
days, featuring Mike Kelloway on the kazoo.
It won't even be a rap song. That sounds more like a country song.
Yeah, I just sit there and just stare at the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that would be well.
I know you've been doing a lot of. You have so much ground to cover, so I'm sure you're getting in quite some you're getting good shape now as well because of how much walking you're doing and all the ground you got to cover door knocking. What in the difference between 2019 when you're going door to door and you're having those conversations with people and asking for their trust and you elect you for the first time and give the community get them to see what you can do out there in Ottawa. What is the difference now as you've already been elected for 2 years as an MP representing this riding, and when you go door to door, is the response a little bit different and they have a little bit more in-depth questions for you now that they've seen what you have done for the community? What's the difference between 2019 and now when you're going door to door?
Well, first of all, before I answer that question, your opening statement will give the impression that I wasn't in shape beforehand, and then I started walking, and then I got in shape. And for the young people out there, he's right.
How many pounds would you say you've cut since 2019?
Oh,
I think you look leaner than the last time I saw you.
Yeah, thank you. I like how this is now becoming.
It's a health and fitness podcast.
Yes, I eat a lot of
Oh,
oats and
we
whey.
didn't do our calf check.
No, I'll tell you, when you're walking, you're walking all day and all evening. And for me, it is 6 days a week.
You must get a great sleep.
We're trying to fatten you up too, and you didn't fall for it.
Well, I love the copious amounts and cornucopia of donuts and a variety of them. And I got to say, for anybody that comes on this podcast, when you see the donuts,
This is the first time we've done
it's
this.
a beautiful
actually.
thing. It's a beautiful. Is it really?
Yeah, we did this
I'm
for
honored.
years. Yeah.
I will reciprocate this with a frozen ham. sent to your house.
Perfect. I'm looking forward to that frozen ham.
No problem at all. This will be, so for people out there that are listening, it will be, I'll buy 3 because I will go to the co-op, I will go to Super Value, and I'll go to Sobeys because that's not a plug for free things from Sobeys or Super Value or co-op.
I appreciate that. No, I'm looking forward to that ham, definitely. Frozen.
Well, it's a frozen ham.
But yeah, what is the difference now when you're speaking with the people? As now they're more familiar with you.
Yeah.
You know, they see your face in the signs.
Yeah, I think, and rightly so, the expectations are higher. You've been in power for 2 years. You've been working hard for 2 years. 90% of the doors we've knocked, and my God, we've knocked on a lot of doors, and it's August 31st now, is a sense of recognition, a recognition that, and it's really humbling, actually, when people say, man, you work your heart out for the community.
Are the people pleased?
Yep.
Yeah, good.
But listen, they're pleased with the work ethic and they're pleased with my dedication, but they're also, there's concerns. So if you look at healthcare, I'll take 3 concerns that I think.
That's what I was going to ask you next too. What are the common concerns? I'm assuming pandemic, healthcare.
Yep, you're on it. So pandemic is one, and I think most people really appreciate the effort of the federal government in terms of keeping not just people safe, but keeping an economy going during the pandemic. But healthcare is an interesting one. So for those that are listening and watching, or watching and listening, it is really, the division of powers between the federal and provincial government is that the provincial government administers healthcare. The federal government funds the provinces to do so. So, so there's a separation there. But I'm not a politician that goes, well, that's a provincial responsibility. It's not a federal responsibility. It's everybody's responsibility. So from a federal standpoint, we've come out with some real progressive policy alternatives in our platform. One is that the federal government will fund 7,500 new doctors for provinces.
That was just recently announced.
That was just recently announced, right? So that's a real key element. And what I like about this piece is that a lot of times the money we give to the provinces is unconditional, meaning there's a formula, we give the money to the provinces, and the provinces then spend as they deem appropriate, because they're the gatekeepers of that money. They're the ones that are going to implement where the money goes. In this case, we'll have a say in terms of where that 7,500 doctors and where those monies go, and we want them to go to where they're intended to go. That is doctor recruitment, but for everyone listening, we know that recruitment is important, but retention is even more important. We want to get doctors here, but we want to keep them here. So that's why we're providing some substantial bursaries for doctors to come to rural parts of the riding, which Glace Bay is considered, Canso, Guysborough,
Your whole
Antigonish.
riding of it.
It's pretty much
Because this is probably the biggest
Right.
community in your
Right.
riding.
7,500 doctors for what area? Sorry?
So it'll be from coast to coast to coast.
Okay.
So if you look at that, and again, how they determine how many provinces, what provinces get how many doctors, I don't know. But let's just say that, let's say that's 200 new doctors for Nova Scotia, hypothetically. That's substantial. And now what we're saying is that not only will we do that, but we'll attach a bursary. So if somebody comes to Glace Bay, Dominion, Canso, and they want to apply for this bursary, we will then give them money to locate here for a long period of time to provide them incentive to stay.
Yeah.
And as someone
build a life here.
and build a life here.
Yeah.
But that's part of the puzzle. What I love, and I got to tell you, when I'm not just visiting this riding, like I'm not just running and been here a couple of times. I've been here my entire life. What I see in this community, again, is communities getting involved in doctor recruitment and doctor retention.
Well, Bay It Forward had a big involvement with that as well. Right?
Huge. I was one of the founding members of Bay It Forward. We have a great group and now a new group that has taken it over, and it's great to see that. They're heavily involved in doctor recruitment. Port Hawkesbury is heavily involved in doctor recruitment. Canso, and the list, Lordways has doctor recruitment that is led by community. And that's key, because you can land the doctor, you can keep the doctor for a period of time, or nurse practitioner, but you want to keep them. And the way to keep them is make them part of the community. Not just to say hi, but to make sure that they're involved in community initiatives and community events and things of that nature.
And it ensures them that their work is rewarding too. They see the benefit
100%.
of the community.
Like it comes full circle, guys. It comes full circle. Absolutely, it comes full circle. So, I continue to doctor recruit even as MP. Now I don't publicize that because I don't think that's what it's about. So last week I talked to 5 doctors that are thinking about coming here, and I popped up on the screen and they said, "You're the MP and you're here?" Yeah, because I live here. My constituents are here. This is important to me and it's important to them. So that's how active I am, and I do this. I'm at a point in my life where, and I was when I decided to run in 2019. I was 49. I'm now going to be 51 in next week. Is that, again, it's about giving back and paying it forward. I mean, we're blessed, guys. We're blessed to live in this area, and what we can do is help others who can't help themselves, or help others to achieve achieve their potential. And I believe in my heart of hearts, and this goes to the ankle biters that are on Facebook, is that you're not going to achieve anything if you just complain. What you got to do is do your part, even if it's a half an hour. Volunteer for a community group. Help. I know this sounds kind of probably Pollyannish, but if you see someone struggling at the grocery store as a senior, and they're trying to carry their bags of food to the car, help them out. It's an immense feeling. And that stuff matters. It matters to people. It matters to everyone. It matters to your community. So we have so many great people in our riding, and they're doing so many great things. And I believe that our potential has yet to be achieved. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have our challenges. So let's go back to affordable housing and accessible housing. This is a problem nationwide. It is not just an urban problem. It is a rural problem. But I'm working with groups like New Dawn and Undercurrent Youth Center and Cape Breton University, who are looking at affordable and accessible housing, not just for students, but for everybody. And we're going to have some great proposals on the table to fund. And that's going to require a community effort. But I'm so stoked about this area. I mean, I look at the newcomers that have come to Cape Breton University who are working in every facet of our society in Cape Breton-Canso.
And some of them have opened up businesses too.
Right. So if I would have said to you 5 years ago, to both of you, there's going to be an Indian restaurant located on Union Street, you probably would have said, "Mike, come on." Now there's an Indian restaurant, potential of a second one. We have numerous construction activities happening in Glace Bay and in Dominion and the rest of the riding. That's not by chance. That's by hard work. And newcomers provide so much.
Because they see the opportunity in this place.
Mm-hmm. So much opportunity. They know it's hard work, but they know it's rewarding work. And all of that gets me up in the morning. All of that is important. All of that is critical. I think of, again, like the Future Ready group. They're doing amazing work in community. They're looking at developing a trail walkway behind Glace Bay High. I'll have some news on our contribution federally after the election, but it's a good one. This is what you want from people. There's not one facet of this riding that's not helping people. And that's what we got to focus on. And yeah, we have challenges, but you want your MP in Ottawa and in the community, not just fighting all the time, but knowing when it's like and I never want to fight in my life, like physical fight. I fought 3 times when I was a youngster and lost miserably 3 times. But I know
these are good facts to have.
I know. So my last fight was in the age of 14, and you know who you were. You know who you are who beat me, and I deserved it.
Well, success is the best form of revenge.
You can fight Mike Kelloway.
Exactly. But a smart boxer knows when to throw punches, knows when to hold back, knows when to take a punch. And I think in politics it's very much the same. You could go out and try to throw 5 haymakers in a row, and guess what you're going to do? You're going to tire yourself out. And your opponent, or the issue of the day, as it were, you're going to tire yourself on it. You're not going to be on your game. And so we need to be strategic in our riding. We need someone in there who knows Ottawa, doesn't just know Ottawa from working in Ottawa, but knows Ottawa because they know their community. They know what their needs are. They know the importance of developing relationships. They know that you have to be aggressive at times, and other times you need to kind of lay back and wait for your opportunity. We've brought in about $300 million to the riding over 2 years. And again, that is not by luck. That is by hard work, and it's not just because of Mike Kelloway. Because all the ideas that came to me, that went to cabinet, that resulted in money coming here, came from fishers, came from seniors, came from youth, came from the business community, came from the not-for-profit sector. So you listen well, you do your homework, and you engage people, and that is a movement. That is the ability to reach out and have an impact. I would like to continue this job because I don't even think we're close to, achieving our full potential. But I think we can together, and that's why I'm doing this.
I agree. Wow. I feel like in the midst of you elaborating on so many different topics, there was like questions I had in my head that you answered before I even asked them. So that shows that you're just, on the ball with a lot of this stuff here. But I mean, you hold, this is of high importance to you. But
It is, very much.
What I was wondering too was you mentioned, when you were doing your work with NSCC and everything
Sure.
else prior to running in 2019, you were already active in a lot of the communities that are in this riding. Were there any smaller communities that you really barely ever went to in the past that you kind of have a new appreciation for what they're doing in those communities
Pomcat is
now?
one.
Yeah.
Like, if you go to Pomcat, again, 600 people.
Crazy, 800,000.
600 people. So when someone says,
So how did they
community-
raise that money?
they did it through auctions,
Fundraising.
dances.
The average money per person, that's insane.
Isn't it? But they
That's
just,
true.
they did, what you would traditionally do, chase the ace and, turkey dinners and so forth and so on. So when someone says to me, there's a new business in Glace Bay, that's not going to last. Boy, that gets to
that's
me.
discouraging. And
Because I know, for example, new business in Glace Bay, the Brixton.
Yep.
Is that going to succeed? 100%. And we got to get behind it, and we got to support it. When we look at other businesses in the riding, and she's from my riding, but she has a business in Sydney, Jill McPherson. Now, Jill McPherson started a cider company during COVID.
Are you
During
serious?
COVID.
Was this only? Oh, he got the hat on right there.
So, yeah. So
That's only been
this
in
gentleman here
business?
has
Yeah.
the swag
Yeah.
of Jill McPherson and the cider.
She was working on it for a long time. Like she was talking about
Right.
it for a long
Well,
time
and she
before
was in the
finally-
community for a bit too, because I
Yeah.
remember when we were in high school doing Youth for Change
Yeah.
through music and stuff. She was a big person. She was a big part of that.
She was amazing, and
Yeah.
so she was working on it, and then they open up during COVID, right? But what has she done? She has started a successful business, and I know for a fact other female entrepreneurs or people that want to be entrepreneurs are going, "Wow, I can do that. I can do that. It's going to take hard work, and you're going to have ups and you're going to have downs, but I can
It's
do
a part
that."
of the game.
It is.
Yeah.
Nothing comes easy. Nothing comes easy. This doesn't come easy. You have to work hard. It's not just driving around the riding. It's getting out. It's the candidate getting out and talking to people, listening to people, listen to alternative views. That's really, really important. But to go back to Jill, there's an entrepreneur from Portmore who had a dream, who had ups and downs, had successes, had failures, and she's still here. And that spurs on other activity. I think of the new CEO of New Dawn, Erica Shea. Erica Shea is a dynamic person. She is taking New Dawn in places that it didn't go. She's looking at playing an even more pivotal role in the CBRM and outside of the CBRM in accessible and affordable housing. I think of David Soller. I work with David Soller quite closely. And for those that don't know, David Soller is pastor at a church, but he's also the lead of the Undercurrent Youth Center. David and
really
I and
important
New
spot.
Dawn, it's amazing. David and myself and others are working to see if we can make a very transformational project happen for Glace Bay. It's transformational. And people say, why Glace Bay? Why not? Why not? This is an amazing
What's the
community.
biggest town in your riding as well, right?
It is population-wise,
Yeah,
for sure.
population.
So you have all these people, that are in this riding that are working towards a common good. And the common denominators, they have heart, they have work ethic, and they want to partner. And it's not about it's not about being someone, it's about doing something. And that's what we need more of. Again, to go back to Sister Peggy Butts, you guys are too young, but when I went to UCCB, it wasn't CBU at the time, there was a sister named Sister Peggy Butts, and she taught poli-sci. She's from Bridgeport. Incredible woman. She later became a senator. And she took a liking to me because I was from the Bay. It had to be the only thing because I didn't say a word in class. And she would come up and she'd be talking to all the studious students in the front. And then I'd be in the back because that's where I went.
You're a back of the class guy?
Back of the class kind of guy. And she would come back and she wouldn't call me Mike. She would say, Kelloway, what do you think of Meech Lake Accord? Or what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And she pushed and pushed me, but there was a rationale to what she was doing. She saw something. I didn't see it. And she said, she would ask me to come to her office to talk about politics and what do you want to do and what's your involvement in community? Because we were both from the Bay. And that's when she told me, she said, if you ever go into politics, because we talked about it, she said there are two type of people. And two type of people go into politics. On the right, not necessarily, I'm just because it is my right, not necessarily, that's not an ideological thing. But on the right, there are those who go into politics to be someone. And on the left, there are those that go into politics to do something. And you need those that are doing something. And that probably is the same for many professions. But if you go into this game for the right reasons, if you go into it with the right fire in the belly, with the right motivation, and you're going to end up doing good things because people are going to want to work with you.
Did that put it into perspective for you to consider this as a realistic path for you to take later on in your life? But when you had that conference, like how old were you at the time when you were taking that course, having that conversation?
Probably 18, 19.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Is this something you always wanted to be a part of?
I always had an interest in it because,
you're studying the community studies, but was that kind of like the career path that you were?
Honestly, when I took my Bachelor of Arts Community Studies from Cape Breton or UCCB, University College of Cape Breton, I had an interest in politics, but I didn't have necessarily an interest in elected office. But what ended up happening was that at the age of 25, I ran for municipal council, and I got to see just how much of an amazing experience that was. And then flash forward 20 years later, this opportunity came. Later in life, I had an interest in running. I had an interest in serving the community in a different way because all of my work, whether it was paid or volunteer, the common denominator is acting in the service of others.
Do you think it just naturally comes from experience because you were involved in so many different volunteer organizations and everything? Over time, it's like you talk about getting into it for the right reason. You were already doing things actively in the community with Bay It Forward, etc. That you didn't at the time when you started that organization or co-founded. You probably didn't have the agenda to be like, oh, it's 7 years after I do this, I'll have enough experience so I can have a run in politics. It just naturally happens from
experience. Really matters. Yeah. And you can have experience at a young age. So I wouldn't say it's a one-size-fits-all approach to politics. Like I wouldn't say if you're below the age of 50, you shouldn't run for politics because everyone has their own story. Everyone has their own experiences. For me, it was just incremental, right? It was kind of like the tortoise. I just kept on kind of building skills, building experience, building skills, building a network, kind of going. And when this opportunity came, I thought, and talked to my wife and said, this is something that, it seems like there's an opportunity. Let's explore it. And if I'm so lucky enough to get the nomination and then, and then win the election, it'd be an honor to serve. So it's a work in progress always. I'm always learning. I'm learning now. I'm learning doing this.
Yeah.
I'm learning, when I'm knocking on doors and I talk to someone who says, I have a particular issue on this particular topic. It happened today. I won't get into it, but it was something that I was unaware of. And I said, here's my number. Educate me.
Yeah.
Educate me.
How many politicians are really doing that, though? Like, you talk about being on either side. That's definitely a trait of someone who's on the good side. Yeah. That's in it for the right reasons.
Yeah. And also too, I think our community is savvy enough and experienced enough to have conversations on things like, guaranteed basic income. I think we need to have conversations that bring the community together, pro and con on every topic, and no matter what age or gender or whatever the case may be, bringing people together to have interesting discussions on initiatives that could help, but have pro and con conversations, agree to disagree. That's how our community has consistently evolved, but we got to do more of it. Mm-hmm. In society now, you have Facebook and you have algorithms and all that stuff, and people get news from that's going to reconfirm their bias. Yeah. We need to kind of and virtually, blow that up and say the town square used to be the town square. Facebook is supposed to be the virtual town square.
Right.
Come in, share ideas, share approaches, be respectful, but have different opinions. Now, if you're on Facebook or other social media,
there's a barrier. People don't feel
it's
the
a
need to be
barrier, right?
respectful.
I get my news from Fox. I get my news from this. I get my news from Global. I get my news from left-leaning CBC.
I was going to actually ask you about that, and partially my reason of becoming so interested in this kind of space as well is because I think there's a very high importance for transparency and just non-biased media coverage of anything that's a topic of importance. How important do you think that is as a politician and as somebody who, you're obviously in the public eye as well, to make sure that, your beliefs and your goals and everything is directly to the people without kind of having like a middleman media company?
I think that's why things like this are actually really important, because you can sit here and tell us for an hour straight exactly how you feel about XYZ.
And it's not planned. I mean, we didn't tell you anything we're going to talk about.
There's nothing scripted here. Yeah. That's what podcasts are so... Like, I look at podcasts in many ways, and yours and many others that I listen to, is what the local newspaper used to be. You get community interest stories, unfiltered, that are open, clear, and transparent, where you can exchange views and things of that nature. That doesn't have a slant, but that's really important. And it's important to bring, like, we live in a culture where, and this is changing, I think, for the better, where a clip, just like a buzz clip of like 10 seconds, oh, that's the clip. But there's a story behind that clip. And that's what people need to hear more of, right?
Need more context.
Need more context, and podcasts are educational. The most educational podcasts that I know of are podcasts that infuse humor, infuse satire, infuse human interest stories, infuse music, because that's culture.
Right.
And culture then kind of, it's certainly kind of is a gateway. And it's a lens to which to see your
something
community.
Where people can relate to each other without having to have, say, like their political opinions involved or something. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like somebody that is leaning this way or that way can relate on music or,
absolutely,
I think it's important. Yeah, I think it's important for people, despite their beliefs politically or anything, to be able to have a debate and without being at each other's necks. And I think that's
100%.
Facebook sometimes is the prime example of that,
so easy.
Because it gets right to sometimes. I've read. I mean, I'm sure we've all read a couple threads on Facebook that are some really solid debates. Yeah. So as soon as somebody jumps in with the name calling, it's out the window.
And that's it. And I think that
it's understandable people get emotional too.
And even the people that aren't name calling, there is like the echo chamber. Like you if you believe a certain thing, or you believe, like, you have one belief that's attached to all these other beliefs, because everything is politically, like, divided, you know what I mean? Like, if you're ultra conservative in the United States, you have to be, like, anti-abortion, say, like, regardless of, like, people are lumping things together, and you might agree with one thing, but now you see that everybody on Facebook that agrees with that one thing is in this, you know what I mean? Right. You get this sense of attachment to a large group that is actually kind of dangerous, because you're not really discussing it in depth. You're just lumping everything together, not talking about any of it, and saying, I'm on this team.
Right.
And this huge division.
And I think you make a really good point there, because I think life is not black and white.
No.
It's in the middle. Mm-hmm. And life is not yes and no. Life is just like in the middle. You may like certain things from one party and certain things from another party, but that doesn't make you
a fan of everything.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I think we need to be very careful. And I think too, there is a quickness to assume on everything. And I think, but I do think, though, you look at, you mentioned about the echo chamber, and I think it's great, because when you knock on doors, it's unfiltered, right? It's you and the constituent. And, what I hear on the doorstep is not what I see by the 10 people that will go on a site to go, everything's wrong and you're wrong and all of this stuff. And I think this gives me a chance too, by the way, to for anybody that runs in any level of government, whether it's municipal, provincial, or federal, or whatever, doesn't matter what party. These men and women and many other people from all walks of life have put their name on the ballot. That's a pretty courageous thing to do first. Secondly, they're coming to your door. That's also courageous. And they are going to, what Teddy Roosevelt, the president of the United States in the early 20th century, said. He had so much respect for the person that goes into the arena. What he meant by that is when you commit yourself into the political process, you're putting yourself out there. So, what I would ask, for all my, fellow candidates in this federal election across the country and, provincial, municipal too, is, treat people with respect, and I think that's a real important thing we need to get back to. You can disagree. You should. You should say, well, Mike, I don't agree with this and I don't agree with that, but, and then we can go back and forth. But
What gives you better understanding as well. And maybe it could provide some insight and different perspective for you to kind of maybe develop your opinion and stance on a particular issue.
There is no government in the history of democracy that has gotten everything right. But you try to win more than you lose. And you try to show people your genuine interest in Canadians. But no one gets everything right all the time. In baseball, if you are a career 300 hitter, you're instantaneously going to go in the Hall of Fame. But if you break down that stat, it doesn't sound as promising. That means that individual hit 3 out of 10 baseballs. That doesn't sound overly Hall of Fame like, but that is a metrics by which we have established that is pretty good. Law of averages is pretty good. So, you're not going to agree with everybody. You're not going to agree with your Conservative candidate. You're not going to agree all the time with your NDP candidate or People's Party candidate or Liberal candidate. But, these people are coming to your home. If you don't want to talk, that's okay. But let's just be, respectful and mindful that we need to sometimes agree to disagree. And I think that just makes a stronger community.
That was a great statement. What are you listening to when you're driving to?
Oh, I love this
Ottawa?
question. This is a great question.
Yeah, what motivates you? What gets you fired up?
Okay, so I will say on the playlist for the campaign, and yes, there is a playlist. We have Foo Fighters. Doesn't matter what album, don't care. I love the Foo Fighters. Nirvana, the 3 albums, doesn't matter. I love them all. I will go with Van Halen, David Lee Roth, all albums. I will go with Sammy Hagar, only one Van Halen album. That is 5150. Everything else is sacrilegious, in my opinion. Prince.
Okay.
Prince could play Old MacDonald Had a Farm, and he would do it brilliantly.
And you'd have it on the playlist.
Absolutely. Then start the day off in the car with Bill Withers, Lovely Day. If you haven't listened to it, it's a pretty cool jam. Listen to that. On the rap side of things,
I'm glad that there is
a rap side. Oh,
of
for
things.
sure.
Nice.
So I'm old school. So by old school, I mean old school. I like certainly Cypress Hill is a really good one. I find them, I listen to them. When I go old school, literally old school, Young MC. The early LL Cool J, going back to Cali. No, I don't think so. Thank you. That was my cultural reference of the day, music reference of the day. Country music, I not necessarily, I don't have a particular, song or anything that comes to mind.
Neither do I. So.
But blues, in the evening, I like to listen to some just old Mississippi Delta blues.
You're using this to guide your day.
Yeah. So when I mellow out, I listen.
This really tells a lot about you as a person.
Well, yeah.
It's just just different parts of the day that are
music's a big part of my life.
Yeah.
I believe you can find, when I talk to people in Ottawa, actually this is a cool story. So when I talk to staffers and people that I need to get to know so I can work with them so I can get access to cabinet ministers, I've invited them over to the office and I said, I got 4 questions for you. And they sit down, yes, Mr. Kelloway. And they're probably what do you, they're probably anticipating, what is your policy on this and this? And I said, okay, so what's your favorite book? And they're like, what's your favorite style of music? What's your favorite movie? And you get to know people that way.
Going back to culture.
Yeah.
You hold culture to a high regard.
Absolutely.
Says a lot about somebody.
And if they don't say their favorite movie is Die Hard, well, we just put a little X by that person. Right. And if they say that it's not a Christmas movie, it is, and it's one of my favorites. There is Scrooge. There is It's a Wonderful Life, and then there's Die Hard with John McCain, and he's amazing. So Die Hard, Christmas movie, no debate.
Cool.
Yeah. So the music does though. I love music. I always have. I wish I could play it. I can only play one song on the guitar, and it's "Smoke on the Water." So if if I'm at a party or you want to rent my services as a musician, just get prepared for a lot of "Smoke on the Water."
Just back to back, so on loop the whole night.
There's various versions of
I would
"Smoke
still
on
like
the
to
Water."
Shouldn't knock on doors. You should just play that.
Yeah.
That's how you announce
Yeah.
yourself.
Knock on the door, "Smoke on the Water."
Yeah,
There we
yeah.
go. But
Who's playing music outside my house?
exactly.
Oh, it's Mike again.
Yeah. He won't leave. But yeah, so music plays a real fundamental role in it, and the playlists are really important for me because it kind of gives you motivated, gets you in a frame
Definitely.
of mind.
What's Justin Trudeau like in person?
Really great,
Okay.
honestly. Down to earth,
Good handshake?
firm handshake.
Firm? Nice.
Firm handshake. I think I equaled his handshake.
Nice.
Yep, I was
Good.
ready for it.
Yeah.
He was
Good
across the room.
practice.
He was across the room. I knew he was coming over to see me, and I
You
thought to-
trained pre-COVID for this. You were,
Yeah, there was like 7 hours in the gym,
Yeah.
not working any part of my body but
Forearms.
my hand.
yeah, grip.
And I saw him maybe 200 feet in the in the building.
You started stretching.
Well, I did, and I said to myself, I'm so ready for this handshake. I've been prepared. I've mentally and physically have been in the zone.
Yeah.
And he came up. He said, "Mike," and I went, "Prime Minister," and I put up my hand first. And I knew he knew that I knew
Yeah.
that he knew that I knew
Yeah.
that I've been
Wow.
working out.
Yeah.
And I think that probably left a mark on him forever.
Nice.
Yeah.
He's probably thinking about that daily.
Oh, well, I think so. I think he wakes up and goes, "That's a firm handshake that Kelloway had 2 years ago. I need to." Yes, he did call me. He called me for my 50th birthday, and
Nice.
and we had a good yarn. And I said, "The only thing that is a downside to this call, Prime Minister, is I can't shake your hand because I've been working out."
Yeah.
But yeah, no, great guy. Listen, he's down to earth. He is a person that is very empathetic. And honestly, during COVID, we had calls every day from about March to about June, as a party, as a government. And this guy felt the pain of a lot of folks. And to be honest with you, I don't know too many politicians that don't feel it. If you do, you're a better person. Maybe not a better person. Maybe you can decompartmentalize your feelings. I know, when I'm talking to someone whose life has been altered and changed, it leaves a mark on you. And you try to do everything you can to help. He's no different. He's no different. This is a guy that led us through the worst existential crisis since World War II.
I think beautifully too.
Yeah.
At least in terms of keeping people financially healthy as well as they could anyway.
Yeah.
I think probably in the world we did one of the best jobs that.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. And look, again, we go back to a common theme of collaboration. So the Prime Minister, I think, did a great job. I think Patty Hajdu, the Minister of Health, did an amazing job. I think Chrystia Freeland, the Deputy Prime Minister, did an amazing job. And then I look at provinces, right? You can look at the provinces, and don't even say this is a Tory-led province, this is a Liberal, because you had Tory-led provinces that did a great job. You had Liberal-led provinces that did a great job. And you had some other parties, other provinces that didn't. So this was about leadership. This was about protecting and having the backs of Canadians. I find sometimes, to get a little bit political for a second, is that, some of my competitors in other parties in other parts of the country have said, well, you know what, we shouldn't have put CERB into play. And I would say, so you would have taken 8.3 million people at one time were on CERB. Those are people that worked in the gig economy. Those were business owners that don't pay into EI, tourism operators, and so forth and so on. So what's your alternative? What would you have done? The patient's on the floor. The patient is bleeding out. What do? Do you sit around and wait for that patient to die? No, you try to stop the bleeding. That's leadership. It doesn't mean you get everything right, but you stop the bleeding and you help people. The wage subsidy is another one. 2.3 million on wage subsidy. Monumental for industry across this country. And this is investment. Yeah, you're spending money. Yeah, you are. But you're investing in people. You're investing in that individual. You're investing in businesses.
What are you going to do?
Right. So, as time passes on and we get more and more out of COVID, some of those measures will sunset. But this is what Canadians do. We help those in need. That is resiliency, that takes guts, that's courage, that takes hard work. And that's the Prime Minister, that's Cabinet, that's MPs, that's premiers, that's municipal wardens, that's municipal councillors.
Everyone has to come together.
Everybody has to come together. And we don't want to fall into the same trap of this nativism that has developed in the States. We're Canadians. We can agree to disagree, but we don't have to, gather around an MP's car and threaten an MP.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. What do you think about like the recent thing that's been going on with Trudeau stopping in different locations and people following him around?
Yeah.
I've seen that. That's crazy.
Well,
and people from all parties have condemned that as well.
Yes, exactly. And I think all parties should condemn that. Look, that's not who we are. But clearly there's something going on. And we need to call it out. Call it out. When an MP in Ottawa, Catherine McKenna, she's not running this time, but in her office, her constituency office, she had misogynistic, no other way to describe it, graffiti on her office walls and her office outside of the outer perimeter of the office. And I can tell you there's other MPs, male and most predominantly female though, that have been threatened by people. Unacceptable, not Canadian, and criminal. And I feel very, very, very firm that has no place in any constituency. It has no place in any part of Canada, period. And when the Prime Minister came out and the Prime Minister spoke to that event, he spoke to it with guts and he was full of chutzpah. He called it out. And that's what has to happen with every one of us. Calling people out because you're different is wrong. We should be accepting diversity. We should be going back to civility. You know what? Write a letter to the editor. Put something on Facebook. Have a good debate. But it's too easy and it's a cheap shot to yell and intimidate and quite
because
frankly
it's personal
bully
at that point, and it's aggressive, and it doesn't solve anything.
No,
that's how you make progress, is to have a healthy debate
and
absolutely.
having a conversation.
Yeah.
It's just
And to be frank with you guys, I mean, for a good part of my childhood, I was bullied, and for a lot of reasons, and I have no time for that, and because I know we're better than that, and so when people do what they did and saying lock him up, get real. That's what I'd say to those people. Be part of something positive and constructive. Go out and try to make a difference in your community. The time that you spend protesting the Prime Minister, go to the local food bank and volunteer.
There's
your
always
time.
some organization that needs some help.
100%. 100%. I was very proud of him on that. I think you'll see more of that because that's who the man is. Yeah. And kudos for other leaders from other parties who called that out because that's the right thing to do.
Right. Yeah, you have to be respectful of each other, regardless
100%.
of our opinions and our thoughts and stuff.
Yeah.
Will you eat a donut?
I would. And
what would you pick if you had to choose any of these donuts right here?
Yeah.
As it is getting pretty hot in here, I must say, props to everybody in this room right now for surviving through the sauna. We don't have a fan in here right now because it would be loud, and we're not at a level yet where we have air conditioning. Because to be frank,
that one with the cherry is actually root beer.
What would you
float.
recommend?
Is it?
Yeah, it's like
Both of these guys are
flavor.
also Sweet Side of the Moon / Bitten Moon employees, so
Okay.
straight from the source.
So
Place
the bit moon and the sweet side of the moon. I had lunch there today. I had the Thai chicken, and I'm going to tell you.
Soup.
Here's a shameless plug for the sweet side of the moon and the bitten moon, but in particular the sweet side of the moon. I love your products. I like eating there. I no way want any free stuff from the bitten moon or the sweet side of the moon, but amazing food. I particularly liked, and I don't think you sell it anymore, but one day I walked in, so you appreciate this. I love bacon.
Me too.
But I also love donuts. And I thought the world came together in harmony when I saw a Homer Simpson donut with bacon and just like a creamy kind of donut. And I thought, all is right with the world.
I almost grabbed. We have. It's not necessarily a donut. I don't know what you would call it, but it's like maple with a strip of bacon over the top of it. And
I've
I was
had
like,
that before. That's
and I was like,
Dang.
I'm not a big maple guy, so it turns me off. But I was like, should I get that? It's very interesting. I wanted to get a decent spread of like average donuts that anybody likes and some.
Well, I think you did a great job. I don't know.
Buffalo
I
Bills.
mean,
quite a variety. Yeah.
may I pick them up?
I think everyone in here deserves a donut.
Yeah.
I actually
I'm
don't
gonna
eat
go-
donuts or cake or anything
I'm doing
like that.
this donut here.
There's a Simpsons donut.
This is a Simpsons
Classic.
It's fan not.
Culture.
Would you like one?
Well, I do want a donut. I'm just trying to figure out what donut I prefer. What are you guys going with here? What do you would you
Maybe
like?
the lemon fill. It's
The lemon fill?
one on the other plate.
This one?
Here.
There you go.
Here.
Yep.
Oh, you know what? I'm just gonna give
We'll
you
just
that.
have this is collaboration.
Yeah,
action.
exactly. Natasha, would you like a donut? You want a donut? Do you want a donut on this plate or do you want a donut on that plate? Do you want to come in front of the camera real quick and say hello to the people? Okay, sounds good. Okay.
Natasha works
Yes.
for me, and she's working on the campaign. This
I
might give me an opportunity, guys, just to say
Anything that you want to maybe wrap up with as well.
Okay.
Let it out there. And I also got to say, shout out to you for picking, you get the young people around you. You've always kept them around you, even when you're campaigning and
Yep.
after you got elected. You
absolutely.
Get the
Listen,
people around.
the young people, the young
You
people
know,
on my
I'm
campaign.
I'm going with the Simpsons donut too.
The
Do you want a donut, Jason?
future of whatever
What
you're
would
trying
you
to
like?
lay
Do you want
down.
this one?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's very important to appeal to that crowd because if you don't, then you're gonna have a generation that doesn't know. You know what I mean? They're gonna have to almost restart. Like you need to pass the torch down
100%.
while also like respecting the elders and bringing that bringing everybody together.
Well, it's respecting and like on my campaign, I have people from all ages working on it. But I can tell you that I got a great team. I've got.
Dad.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a high compliment. It is. I got to tell you. But I have a great team. I have a great team of volunteers from all walks of life that are helping. And it's pretty cool when I look around, and I've done this a few times in this campaign. I look around and I go, oh, there's a liberal, there's a conservative, there's a NDP, there's people from all walks of life in the campaign. And I think that speaks to what we're trying to do here. So
that are in your campaign.
Yeah.
So they've decided to switch over
yeah, like last time.
because of you
Yep. Well,
You gave 'em the hope.
I mean,
and your party.
Yeah, I mean, you hate to talk about yourself like that because who wants to hear
Come on.
that?
No, I mean, but
Um,
just like the type of work you've done in the community
yeah.
made them convinced,
Yeah.
that sold them on.
Do you find it
working.
odd seeing your face like 9 houses in a row as somebody that's not really like
So many signs. So much face.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I would call you the opposite of like a narcissist. You know what I mean? Like you're very
Yeah, I am.
people oriented.
Yeah.
Well, the face represents.
Then
the
you got to be
people.
like Mike Kelloway. I'm here. You're everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I say this all the time.
That's strange for you?
100%. When you see your photo everywhere, and if you're like me, which is I'm an what do you call it? Introvert, extrovert, and also I don't like looking at myself at all. Like I'm the opposite of anybody that likes looking at themselves. I'm like, if I see myself in the gym, I go, "Oh my God, what happened to you?"
I should definitely put that face on a bunch of signs.
Yeah, exactly. This is the time for me to put my face on signs. But no, I think it's a means to an end. But like, look, it's kind of different. And
I'm sure there's some people that get in like they're running and they're like, yes, I got my sign everywhere. Like that's a big thing for.
oh,
them.
I'm sure there are people like that. When the funny story was that the Sunday when the writ was dropped, when the election was called, my vehicle was wrapped with my face on it. But we didn't drive it. We had it done on the Friday, but we couldn't drive it because there was no election, right? And we always abide by the rules. So that Sunday, I'm driving out for the first time in my car that's wrapped. And I'm driving out, I'm saying goodbye to my wife. She's on the step. Hey, see you later. So I'm pulling out, and I'm looking both ways. And I look, and I see a face staring at me. And I put the brakes on, and I went, good God. And then I realized it was me looking at me. And I thought.
That really puts it into perspective.
And then I looked to the left, and guess what? There's another face, me looking at me. And I went, this is not right. But you get used to it. But sure, yeah. Like I would rather not see pictures of myself, but it's an election campaign, so you do what you do.
Yeah. Well, it's yeah. I mean, seeing pictures of yourself it's strengthening your whole role in this.
Yeah,
to
well, it's
begin
just
with.
interesting because you said like there's people that get into politics to be somebody.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there are all over that and they love that. But then to somebody that is not really that self-focused, I feel like that would probably have to be the strangest part.
It
You
is.
know
I
what I
mean,
But you need it to accomplish the mission.
Yeah.
so-
yeah, it's a means to an end. People need to see the candidate. They need to know the candidate.
falling apart.
But yeah, no. I listen. And you know, we're now it's August 31st. The election is going to be called, or not called. Election will happen on September 20th. And you know, we'll put all of that stuff away, and you know, we're hoping for a very good outcome, and that just gives me a chance to say thanks to everyone that's worked on the campaign so far, those that are coming on. Thank you for those on the doorstep that we had great conversations. Thank you for the support, and thank you for people that have made stretch my thinking. It's really, really cool when
I
that
still need to
happens.
knock on some doors with you.
You do,
do
yes,
that this week.
yes. Well, we're very we're very stoked
Really
to
calm
have
me
that. In fact, what we'll do is that for one day only, we'll take down my photo on the car, put your face up, and just we go with it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Yeah, it's great. Yeah,
This is Mike Kelloway now.
Yeah,
exactly.
we changed identities. Really impressive. Did you eat your donut that fast?
No. I placed it here. I had for the let the record show.
Yeah.
Several bites were taken, and several more bites will be taken later.
Nice. Yeah, because if we run this back and you watch the video, you'll see me as you were talking there continue to look on the plate and try to figure out how many donuts are left. Because I was like, did he eat it that fast? I didn't even see you take a bite and then it was gone. And
I'll be
Right.
honest with you. Could I eat a plate of donuts? You bet. And would I do it and feel very terrible afterwards? Yes.
nice.
But I
it
would
was
do it.
worth it in the moment. Yeah.
You
This
know,
thing is falling apart all over me.
you know, exactly. Like
Just trying to hold us together.
so, we'll be having a course on how to eat donuts later,
Yeah.
and so
I
look
will
at
be
this
failing.
man. Look at this man.
I'm powdered
this-
sugar
What
all over my
happened?
shorts.
What happened?
This is why people need that course.
Look, I mean, you know, I'll go back to my continuing education days at the college, and I'll put on a course how to eat a donut.
On the
You'll come
side.
out and you'll like, look at me.
I'll be the example of how not to eat a donut.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's something
Jeez
you could also
Louise.
add into your
Listen-
campaign.
Listen, partner, I'm not doing too much better over here.
Mine is gone, so I excelled. Yeah, okay. I'm good to wrap this up. Anything else you want to touch on? Or I think we did. That was a great conversation. I enjoyed it.
I did too, and it went by very quick.
Yeah.
I have to say, I feel like I lost an additional 20 pounds in here.
Yeah, it's getting brutal in here right
yeah,
now.
Yeah, but I love the.
All the talk.
But every
comes
time
out
we've
of
had
your body.
a politician
Has
or
been
aspiring politician on, it has been in the middle of the day because you guys operate more in the daytime.
Yeah.
And it's been hot out every single time. So, but I feel like we might have talked to you the longest. So
Very cool.
you win. So congrats.
Well, I
You
like
win
to know
politics,
what,
Mr.
Yeah.
Kelloway.
We make these politicians sweat.
Well, by the way, that could be like a side project,
Yeah.
making politicians sweat.
Yeah.
But no, listen, thank you and best of luck with this podcast. You guys have a real cool thing going, and love to be back and
Love to
have
be
some
back.
chats with you.
Give me
Thank
some
you.
nuts.
I would
Mitch,
do that.
reach over
My
for the
hands
nuts.
are really.
Oh,
No, I'm
geez.
not.
Anything you
I'm
want to
not
ask
touching your
Jason when we're
hands.
good? Anything? We're good? All right.
Lemon filled
That's
and
it.
powdered sugar everywhere.
Take care,
Okay,
everybody.
bye.